Hello everyone, my name is Jeff Cooper's Ghost. This is my first video in a series of gunsmithing book reviews. This first video features the Jerry Kuhnhausen Shop manuals. I'll talk a little bit about the author, go over some contents, read a few excerpts, show some pages, and discuss who would benefit from these books. I'll read a little bit about the author from the back cover of the Colt Double Action Manual. Jerry Kuhnhausen has been involved with guns and gunsmithing since the first time he caught scent of gunpowder as a youngster. Jerry has been repairing, accurizing, building, and restoring quality firearms for more than 40 years. As I see it, he is probably one of the best, most qualified gunsmiths in the traditional sense of the word in America today. Jerry is a life writer, NRA Life member, and very enthusiastic supporter of the shooting sports. Although his background is mechanical engineering, he is an old-fashioned craftsman, as he will readily tell you. Until his retirement in 1985, he owned and operated one of the downright nicest old-time, professionally run, full-service gun shops that I have ever had the pleasure to visit. As he views the subject, the greatest problem the very specialized field of gunsmithing has these days is that of finding trained personnel. In short, there just are not enough to go around. To help solve the problem, Jerry wrote 14 fully illustrated shop manuals. He then followed those with another 10. These 24 manuals, originally compiled in loose leaf binder form, were written over a period of some 6 years and teach the real nuts and bolts, as he calls it, of bench work, shop gunsmithing work. 3 complete manuals were written on Colt revolvers alone. Bob Jacobs. Now, each of these books are set out in relatively the same fashion. You have an introduction and discussion about safety regarding each of the makes and models they cover. You have disassembly, inspection checks, reassembly, and shop work. Let's take a few flips through the Double Action Colt manual. You got step-by-step descriptions and fully illustrated drawings of each step, very clearly written out in detail. A troubleshooting guide. And shop work in the back. Most of these books all have exploded parts diagrams in the back. Let's take a look at the Smith & Wesson revolver. These are just some notes from classes I've taken over the years. We have it set up in the same way, starting with an introduction and safety notes before we begin disassembly. Parts inspection. Here we have troubleshooting. This is the shop work section. It includes contents such as tightening the cylinder lug in the frame, correcting cylinder end shake, trigger work. Cracked frames. These are some of the most in-depth manuals you can find on this kind of work. And in the back we have more exploded parts diagrams for the frame variations. Let's check out the 1911 book. Of course, we open with the same contents, introductions, safety warnings, the 1911 has a section on cycle of operations in the introduction. Then we get into the parts inspection. And you guys are going to see what I mean by the level of detail. This one has, of course, exploded diagrams in the front instead of the back. And you guys will get to see how much detail they put into the dimensions of each of these parts, the frames and the slide. Again, one of the most detailed manuals, if not the only manuals you're going to find that include dimensions, dimensional drawings like this. Again, parts inspection and reassembly here. The entire dimensions of your slide stop. Parts inspection and reassembly. And then in the back we have a section on optimum performance 1911s. Talking about slide to frame fit, fitting the barrels. I have this book on my bench whenever I'm working on 1911s. Gas operated service rifles, the first half of this one goes over the M1 Garand rifle. We start out with shop notes, safety warnings, cycle of operations, and then followed by disassembly of the M1, parts inspection, reassembly. Again, you are not going to find more complete reference books to the makes and models that these manuals are dedicated to. Troubleshooting for the M1 Garand, M1 Garand custom work. Most of you probably aren't going to be into that kind of blasphemy, but you don't know what's going to come into your shop and you don't know what someone's going to ask for. After the M1 section, we get into the M14 M1As. It follows the same basic layout. Introduction, pre-checks, safety checks, followed by disassembly, reassembly, and parts inspection. As well as troubleshooting at the end for the M14. And then at the back we have M14 shop and custom work. This deals a lot with trigger work, accurizing work, bedding the stocks. And then of course, we've got miscellaneous data and drawings at the end. Drawings and dimensions of some tools. Let's check out M1 carbines. Again, same layout. We've got contents, safety warnings, introductions. Almost all the books have a brief model production history that you can look into. The first part of the carbine books feature design history, changes that were made. Cycle of operations. Pre-checks before starting disassembly. Disassembly itself, step by step, fully illustrated, fully explained. And inspection and reassembly. We have troubleshooting after that. And shop work. Removal and installation of the sights. Gas cylinder reconditioning. Crowning the muzzle. More stock bedding. This one covers the 870, 1187, and 1100 Remington shotguns, all laid out in the same manner. We start with introductions, safety, a short history on the models, and it gets into disassembly. Reassembly and checkout, troubleshooting, 1100, 1187, checkout and reassembly, troubleshooting for those as well, shop work in the back, safety checks, and notes. Talking a lot about choke tube installation, cutting barrels for choke tubes. Drilling and tapping for scopes and mounts, removing dents from the barrels and mag tubes. Length of pole modifications to the stock, recoil pad installations. And of course we got your exploded parts diagrams in the back. This is one of my favorites, the Mauser bolt actions. This one covers models 1891 through 1898. We have your basic introduction. You're also going to get a lot of production dates in this one. Here we have Mauser model 91 through 98, major model variations and the countries they come from. Into detailed disassembly, starting with the 91. Check out reassembly. Into the troubleshooting guide. After that you got shop and custom work. Another section most of you are probably going to be very upset about. Any kind of modification of these rifles. People tend to think we were talking about Bubba when in fact we're talking about professional use and customization of these. Here's a Forster fixture. No, this is the Brownell's Power Custom SSR mounting fixture. Very similar to a Forster fixture for drilling and tapping. More drilling and tapping notes. Bolt handle modifications. Talking about head spacing and chambering. Thread and thread extension dimensions. Modifying the action for different cartridges, custom cartridge chamberings, including the bottom metal, safety side swing conversions. Again, a very, very valuable resource. All of these are very valuable. Even if you're not looking to modify these guns, if you're in the gunsmithing industry and someone brings you a rifle that's been modified, it's good to know that you can identify features by somebody else or features that are part of the factory rifle. Let's take one look through the Ruger single actions. Again, contents, safety features, safety warnings, production histories, design histories. Chamber and bore alignment. We have your exploded parts drawings in the front here. Into disassembly, parts inspection, reassembly. Transfer bar work. Screw dimensions, pin dimensions. All these books are beneficial to the collector, the custom gunsmith, and the hobbyist alike. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you learned a little bit about these. If you've never seen or heard about these books before, you can get these through Brownell's. You can probably find them on Amazon. All of them are still in production. Demand isn't so high for these. You can get them pretty easy. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the views. I got a lot of books to cover, so stick around. If you like this, I got more coming.